The battlefield was silent. Smoke rose from the ground like ghosts, twisting and curling in the cold air. Ships burned. Metal lay scattered everywhere. Bodies, both human and alien, were motionless, and in the middle of it all stood one man. His name was Captain Darren Voss, a human warrior with sharp eyes and blood on his armor. His sword was broken, his armor dented, but he was still standing. He was the only one. The enemy had sent hundreds of giant alien beasts with thick hides and long claws. They had crushed human lines in every corner, but somehow, Darren was still alive. He had fought like a beast himself, wounded but angry, tired but burning with fire inside. His final blow was the loudest. A beast 3 times his size had charged at him, roaring like thunder. Darren had jumped onto its back, grabbed a broken metal rod, and stabbed it through the skull. Now the monster lay dead beside him, far above. Inside a dark floating ship high in the sky, Queen Zarzina watched through a glowing screen. She was the ruler of the Zarnathi Empire, a powerful alien race feared across the galaxy. Her body was tall and strong, covered in silver armor. Her skin glowed faintly, and her eyes burned with a golden light. She had seen many warriors in her lifetime, but never a human like this one. The room around her was full of silent generals. Even they looked at the screen in shock. How is he still alive? One whispered. The queen didn't answer. She leaned closer. Her eyes narrowed. She could feel something strange about this human. Not just courage, not just strength, something deeper, something wild. An ed. She stood up slowly and spoke just one sentence. I want him. The generals turned to her. My queen? One asked, confused. I said. She repeated louder. I want that human, alive. Bring him to me. They hesitated. No one questioned the queen, but this order was strange. He just killed an entire war squad, a commander warned. He's dangerous. The queen smiled. Exactly. Back on the battlefield, Darren dropped to one knee. His body ached. His vision was blurry. He was running out of energy. He thought it was over. But then, from the smoke, strange shapes appeared. Dozens of alien soldiers walked toward him. But they didn't run. They didn't shoot. They moved slowly, carefully, like hunters. Darren's heart pounded. He grabbed a piece of metal from the ground and held it like a weapon. Come on then, he shouted. Let's finish it. But they didn't attack. Instead, they surrounded him, and one of them threw something. A small gas bomb exploded near his feet. Darren coughed, tried to move, but the gas made him dizzy. He fell. His last thought before blacking out was, why didn't they kill me? When Darren opened his eyes, he was floating. He looked around, confused. His arms were bound by glowing energy cuffs. The room was dark and round, with soft red lights. He was inside a ship, but not a human one. A tall alien stood near him, staring. Her skin was dark purple. Her armor was black and gold. She had sharp facial marks and long silver hair. You're awake, she said simply. Darren growled. Where am I? On a royal vessel, she answered. You are to be delivered to Queen Zarzina. Why? He snapped. To torture me. She tilted her head. No, you are a gift. He froze. What? She didn't answer. The ship moved smoothly through space. Outside, stars passed like streaks of light. Darren stared at the glass window and clenched his fists. He didn't know who this queen was or why she wanted him. But he knew one thing. He would not bow. Not to anyone. Not even to a queen. Meanwhile, on her throne far away, Queen Zarzina sat alone in her chamber. Her fingers tapped against the cold metal armrest. A small smile touched her lips. A human. Warrior, she whispered. The one from my vision. The one with fire in his soul. She stood up and walked toward a mirror. Her reflection showed not a monster, not a ruler, but a lonely woman who had seen too much war, He doesn't know it yet, she said softly. But he's already mine. Asterisk, the first thing Darren noticed when he woke up was the silence. Not the silence of peace, but the cold, heavy silence of being watched. He was no longer on the battlefield. No smoke, no blood, no dirt under his boots. Instead, he was floating inside a glass cell suspended slightly off the ground, held in place by glowing blue energy bands. Everything was clean. Too clean. A soft hum vibrated around him, like the purr of a machine breathing. Then the voice came. I expected more scars. It was smooth, powerful, female. Darren's eyes flicked toward the source. Behind a transparent wall stood Queen Zarzina, herself taller than he imagined, wrapped in a long robe of shimmering metal threads. Her crown was thin and sharp, like blades woven together. Her golden eyes locked onto his dot. She was not smiling, she was studying him like he was a puzzle or a weapon. I don't understand, Darren growled, pulling at the energy cuffs. Why didn't you kill me? The queen raised an eyebrow. I don't kill what I desire, she said softly. Darren stared at her. What? I watched. You fight, she continued. Your rage, your pain. You stood when every other human fell. That kind of strength is rare, even among my kind. He narrowed his eyes. So I'm a prize now? A pet for a bored queen? Zarzina stepped closer to the wall. You're not a pet, you're a flame, and I need fire beside me. Earlier, inside the Royal War Council chamber, her generals had panicked at her command. Bring him alive? One shouted. He's just a human, and a threat to your throne. The queen silenced them with one cold stare. He is more than human, she said. He is the warrior from the prophecy. They went silent. Long ago, a forgotten text had spoken of a man from the stars, not born from their world, yet one who would challenge the queen and win her loyalty, not with power, but with heart. Many thought it was a myth, a joke, but Zarzina had always believed it, and when she saw Darren fight like a dying god, alone against a dozen beasts, her soul had screamed, that's him. Back in the ship, Darren was now being led down a dark hallway by two guards. His cuffs still glowed, but his mind raced faster than his feet. He wasn't dead. He wasn't tortured. But he wasn't free either. He was being summoned. They opened a massive golden door. Inside was a throne room that looked more like a temple. Tall black pillars, silver flames floating in the air, and a large seat carved from the bones of ancient beasts. Queen Zarzina waited. She rose as he entered. The guards bowed and left them alone. You've caused quite a storm, she said. My court doesn't trust you. Good, Darren replied. I don't trust them either, the queen smirked. Then perhaps we'll get along. She walked around him slowly, like a hunter circling prey. I have ruled for 100 cycles, she said. Fought wars. Crushed rebellions, lost friends, allies, lovers. Darren didn't speak. She stopped in front of him, but never. She whispered, have I seen a man face death like you did? Not even my own generals fight like that. Maybe they don't have something worth dying for, he replied. That made her pause. Then a flash of something crossed her face. Pain, loneliness, regret. I once did, she said quietly, until my empire took it from me. Silence hung between them for a long moment. Darren finally asked, so what do you want from me, Queen? She looked into his eyes. I want your fire. He laughed bitterly. You kidnapped me, caged me, and now you want me to. What? Stand next to your throne like a pet soldier? No, she said seriously. I want you to stand beside me. As a partner, as a protector, as something more than just a name on a battlefield. Darren shook his head. And what if I say no? Zarzina smiled, but it was sad. Then, I will let you go, she said. But I don't think you will. Why not? Because you've seen what I rule. You've seen the war, the chaos. And you, Darren Voss, are not the kind of man who walks away from something broken. She turned and walked back to her throne. Sleep, eat, think. Tomorrow, you'll give me your answer. As he was taken away, Darren couldn't stop thinking about her words. I want your fire. No one had ever said that to him before. And for the first time since the war began. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the Queen's power or the strange feeling growing in his chest. Darren didn't sleep that night. He sat near the glowing walls of his new chamber, luxurious, quiet, and far too soft for a soldier who was used to sleeping on cold dirt and blood-soaked steel. He had been captured by an enemy empire. And now, treated like royalty? Nothing made sense. He kept hearing her words again and again in his head. I want your fire. What did that even mean? No one had ever wanted anything from him except his death. Not the humans he served. Not the officers he bled for. And now, an alien queen. What game was she playing? In the throne room, Queen Zarzena stood alone before a massive mirror. She wasn't wearing her armor now. Just a simple royal robe that shimmered like starlight. Her long hair flowed down her back, and her sharp golden eyes reflected pain and emotion she never showed to her people. She had fought many battles, conquered worlds, worn blood like perfume. But this human, this broken, scarred, furious man, he unsettled her. Why? Because he reminded her of herself. When Darren was called to the throne room again the next morning, he didn't expect what came next. The room was crowded. Generals, nobles, advisors, all standing on both sides like stone statues, whispering as he entered. Darren wore plain alien garments now. His human armor had been taken, but he still walked like a warrior, shoulders squared, chin high, eyes sharp. And then he saw her. Queen Zarzena sat on her throne at the center of the grand hall. She looked like a goddess of war carved from fire. But her eyes only followed him. Gasps echoed as he stopped at the bottom of the throne. Steps and didn't bow. He didn't kneel. He simply stared up at her. I don't kneel to anyone, he said. A few gasps turned to growls. One noble shouted, how dare a human disrespect the queen? But Zarzena lifted her hand and the room went silent. He doesn't need to kneel, she said calmly. He's not here as a prisoner. Darren raised an eyebrow. Then what? Am I? She stood. You are a warrior. The only one who stood when all others fell. You are bold, reckless, and stubborn. And I need that beside me. Murmurs spread through the room. One general stepped forward, furious. He is a threat, my queen. He's not one of us. He shouldn't stand in your court. Zarzena looked at him coldly. Would you rather I stand beside cowards? The general shrank back. Then Zarzena turned to Darren again. This empire is full of snakes, pretenders, backstabbers. But you, human, you are honest, angry, raw. I can trust that. He scoffed. You don't even know me. She stepped down the steps closer to him. Then let me know you. They stood face to face. I don't need another servant, she said. I need someone to challenge me, to remind me who I was before the throne stole my soul. Darren searched her eyes. He didn't see a monster. Not anymore. He saw a fighter. A survivor. Just like him, that night, the queen did something no one expected. She walked into the warrior's chamber alone. No guards, no weapons. Just silence. Darren looked up, surprised. I thought queens didn't visit prisoners, he said. She smiled. Faintly, you're not my prisoner anymore. He stood. Then what am I? She walked past him and sat near the window, where the stars floated by. Do you know why I really brought you here? She asked. I'm guessing it wasn't my charming personality. She let out a small laugh. The first real one. I saw you in a vision, a man with fire in his soul, a warrior with nothing left to lose. And I thought, what if I gave him something to fight for again? Darren didn't respond. She turned to him. I'm offering you something rare, a place beside me, not beneath, not above, beside. And if I say yes? He asked quietly, then we rebuild this broken empire, together. And if I say no? Then I let you go, she said. No war, no chains. Darren looked out the window. He had never wanted a crown, never wanted power. But maybe, just maybe, he had found someone who understood what it meant to lose everything and still rise again. The queen sat in the garden of glass, alone. No guards, no nobles, just silence. And stars above. It was her private place, hidden deep in the palace, where even war couldn't reach. Giant crystal trees glowed softly, and flowers from 10 planets bloomed without a sound. But she didn't smile, because beauty meant nothing. When the heart was tired, Darren entered slowly. A royal servant had told him, the queen wants your company. No guards will follow. She says, come as you are. He expected a trap. Instead, he found her sitting on a smooth stone bench, her crown placed beside her. You're not wearing your power today, he said. She looked up. Power is loud. I wanted silence. Darren sat across from her. They didn't speak for a while. Only the wind moved soft and strange. Finally she asked, do humans cry when they lose everything? He blinked. Sometimes. But I was a soldier. Crying didn't bring my men back, she nodded. I was a daughter once, a sister, a lover. Now I am a throne. She reached into a hidden pouch on her belt and showed him a small, old photo, blurry and worn. It showed her, smiling, without armor, holding hands with someone. They killed him, she said. Because I loved him, because I was weak when I chose him. Darren didn't say anything. What could he say? She wasn't just a queen. She was a woman built from broken pieces. Later that night, back in his chamber, Darren couldn't sleep. This alien queen, feared across galaxies, had cried, not loud, not weak, just one tear, and it hit him harder than any enemy blade. She didn't need a soldier. She needed someone who saw her, not her throne. The blade was poisoned, and it was meant for the human. The assassin moved like smoke, silent, quick, and hidden in the shadows of the royal walls. Her orders were clear. Make it look like an accident. The queen must never know. But the moment she opened the door to Darren's chamber, he was already awake. Hours earlier, Darren had felt it. Not a sound, not a word. But something in the air had changed. Soldiers nodded less. Servants smiled less. Even the halls felt colder. He didn't know who. But someone wanted him dead. So he stayed alert. He didn't sleep. And when he heard the whisper of footsteps outside his room, he waited behind the door. The assassin slipped in, holding a blade coated in purple shine, deadly poison from her homeworld. As she passed the bed where Darren should have been, he struck. In one swift move, he slammed her against the wall and disarmed her. She hissed like a wild animal, trying to escape, but he held her tight. Who sent you? He growled. She only smiled. You were never welcome here, human. Then, before he could say more, she bit something hidden in her mouth, a capsule. Within seconds, her eyes turned glassy, and her body went limp. Dead. The next morning, the palace shook with rage. Darren stood before Queen Zarzana again, but this time, blood was still on his shirt. The assassin's body had been found. Word spread fast. The nobles whispered. Some were afraid. Others looked pleased. Zarzana's face was carved from stone. Who dares touch what is mine? She said coldly. No one answered. Her golden eyes scanned the room like fire, ready to burn everything down. I gave an order, she said. He was not to be harmed. And now someone among you breaks my law? A trembling advisor stepped forward. My queen. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding. Before he finished, she raised her hand. Her soldiers dragged him away, screaming. She turned to Darren. "I'm sorry," she said, voice low. "I failed to protect you." Darren shook his head. "This was no mistake. Someone in this palace sees me as a threat." "You are," she said. That surprised him. "You threaten what they know," she added. "You walk like a soldier, but they see a stranger standing too close to their throne." He looked her in the eyes. "And you? What do you see?" She didn't hesitate. "I see someone who fights even in sleep, who doesn't kneel, doesn't flatter, and doesn't lie. That's rare. That's what I want beside me." But later that evening, she made a choice that shook the palace. She ordered her own royal guards out of Darren's quarters, and in their place, she stood guard herself. Every noble in the empire heard the same message: touch him again, and you face me. Deep in the palace, a hidden group gathered, all dressed in dark robes, eyes full of hate. "He must die," one said. "Before he changes her." "He already has," another replied bitterly. "Can't you see? She's not our queen anymore. She's becoming his." Their leader, an old warlord with scars across his face, slammed his fist on the table. "Then we act now, before her heart becomes her weakness." Back in his chamber, Darren looked at the queen, standing near the door like a warrior. "You don't need to protect me," he said. "I know," she replied. "Then why are you here?" She looked at him, and for the first time, her voice was soft, almost human. "Because for the first time in years, I don't feel alone." Darren didn't speak, but in that quiet moment, with danger crawling through the palace like a shadow, something changed between them. Not a word, not a promise, just understanding. Asterisk, the drums of judgment echoed through the palace. Boom, boom. Each beat was heavy, slow, like the heartbeat of something ancient and angry. Darren stood in the middle of a great stone circle. Around him, thousands of alien nobles filled the arena, staring down in silence. The walls shook with the sound of the crowd, but no one dared speak. High above, Queen Zarzina stood on a dark balcony, her face unreadable. This was no ordinary trial. This was the trial of blood. Earlier that morning, she had come to him with fire in her eyes. "They've challenged you," she said. "Challenged me?" Darren asked. "Yes, by law. Anyone who believes you don't belong at my side can call for a trial of blood. You must fight, alone. If you win, they stay silent. If you lose," she didn't finish. Darren didn't blink. "When?" "Now." Now he stood in the ancient arena once used by warriors thousands of years ago. The rules were simple. 1 man enters. 5 enemies follow. Only 1 leaves alive. The gates creaked open. His challengers stepped out, 5 elite alien warriors, each taller, stronger, and armed with curved glowing blades. Their armor shimmered like dragon scales. Their eyes held only one message: you do not belong. Darren cracked his neck. He had no sword, no shield, just his fists, his mind, and the will to survive. On the balcony, Zarzina watched in silence. She wasn't allowed to interfere, not even as queen. The trial was sacred law. If she broke it, the empire would rise against her. But inside, her heart twisted with rage. These men weren't just testing Darren. They were testing her. Was she weak? Had she fallen for a human? Could they break her through him? The answer would come soon. The first warrior charged. Darren stepped aside, grabbed his arm, and flipped him into the wall. The crowd gasped out. The second came swinging his blade. Darren ducked, grabbed a broken rock from the ground, and slammed it into the alien's leg. The alien howled and collapsed. 2 down. But then one slashed across Darren's back. Blood poured. He gritted his teeth, turned, and kicked the warrior back hard. But pain seared through him. His muscles screamed. His vision blurred. The fourth attacker struck his ribs with a heavy staff. Darren dropped to one knee. The crowd roared. Some laughed. Others cheered. "End him!" shouted a noble. Zarzina clenched the rail, her claws digging into the stone. One of her advisors whispered, "Call off the trial." "You're the queen. Break the law." "No," she said coldly. "If he dies free." "But if he wins," she whispered, "they will never question him again." In the arena, the last two warriors circled Darren. His breath was heavy. Blood dripped from his mouth. One of them lunged, but this time, Darren didn't dodge. He caught the alien's arm, twisted it until it cracked, and headbutted him so hard that both men fell. Only one was still breathing. Darren. The final warrior stepped forward. Taller than the rest. Smarter. He circled Darren slowly. "Stay down, human," he hissed. "You've proven enough. Don't die for pride." Darren stood. "I'm not dying today." The warrior rushed forward, blade raised. Darren dropped low, rolled under the swing, and grabbed the fallen staff from earlier. With one final roar, he drove the end of the staff into the alien's chest. The crowd went dead silent. All 5 warriors lay in the dirt, and the human still stood. Up on the balcony, Queen Zarzina raised her hand. In a booming voice, she declared, "He is no longer outsider. He is blood. He is fire. He is mine." The crowd dropped to their knees. Even those who hated him bowed their heads, because in the old language of the Empire, her final words meant only one thing: he is the future. Darren looked up at her, eyes burning, blood covering his body. He had won the fight, but something deeper had begun. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for her. The crown was waiting, but this time, not just for her. Queen Zarzina stood before the throne in the Great Hall, wearing black ceremonial robes embroidered with gold fire. Her long silver hair flowed behind her, and her eyes, sharp, proud, and glowing, watched as he entered. Darren, the human who had once been a prisoner. Now he walked down the hall not in chains, but in royal armor. The same nobles who once whispered against him now stepped aside in silence. The same guards who had once doubted him saluted. The man had bled for their laws. Now he would help change them. But before the crown could be placed, a final challenge appeared. A messenger ran into the room, bowing low. "My queen, my lord, an army is marching toward the capital. Rebels. They do not accept this union." Zarzina didn't look surprised. "I expected this," she said. Darren's voice was calm. "Then we face them." "No," she replied, turning to him. The scene shifted. Moments later, the queen and her human warriors stood atop the palace walls, side by side. Below them, thousands of rebel soldiers gathered, shouting, roaring, demanding her fall. They called her a traitor to her blood. They called Darren a disease. But the queen raised her hand, and the crowd fell silent. "I have ruled with strength," she shouted, voice like thunder. "But strength without heart is cruelty. I found someone who challenged me, not to destroy my throne, but to remind me why I took it." She turned slightly toward Darren. "He is not my pet, not my toy, not my weakness." She paused. "He is my choice." Darren stepped forward. "I don't want your throne. I don't care about power, but I believe in what she's trying to build. A future where blood and species don't matter, only courage does." The crowd murmured. Some lowered their weapons. A rebel commander shouted, "You expect us to bow to a human?" Darren looked him dead in the eye. "No," he said simply. "I expect you to fight me first." The queen gasped, but said nothing. The rebel commander, prideful and boiling with anger, accepted. In front of thousands, they fought. It was brutal, sharp, fast. But in the end, Darren stood over the broken sword of his opponent. He didn't kill him. He helped him up. "Enough blood has been spilled," Darren said. "Let's build now." And slowly, piece by piece, the rebels began to kneel. That night, the crowning ceremony returned. But this time, there were 2 thrones. Queen Zarzina sat on one, and beside her, not as a king but as something stronger, stood Darren. Her equal, her warrior, her fire. Later, in the quiet of the stars, they stood alone on the palace balcony. She turned to him and asked softly, "Do you regret it? Leaving my old life?" He asked. She nodded. He looked out at the stars. "No," he said. "I regret not finding you sooner." She smiled, and for the first time in many years, she let her hand rest in his, no armor between them. No throne between them, just two souls, broken once. Now hold together. And so, in the heart of a galaxy divided, a new legend began, of a human warrior and the alien queen who chose him. Not as a slave, not as a soldier, but as the one who saw her and stayed.